Hello, everybody. Today we are going to work on our narrative nonfiction part 4 and just look at the word choice that we're using. This is the last written lesson for our narrative nonfiction. There will be one more lesson with the format, either tomorrow or the next day, but this is the last written part, so some of you are probably pretty excited. So what I'm going to model to you today is just noticing our words that we take for granted, our average daily words that we often use over and over and over, and just practicing making them stronger. You guys did a nice job on your word choice practice last week when you took sentences and added more description, added more sensory detail, and that's basically what you're doing today. It's very similar to your tension lesson, except with your tension lesson, you were adding words that caused worry and fear and anxiety. Today, we're just practicing taking our words and making them stronger, making them more not necessarily descriptive, but a deeper, stronger vocabulary for our audience. So here's my essay that I've been attaching to the lessons. I got my printer to work with colors. So when you see the green, that is my research facts. When you see the yellow, that is my tension. So I'm just gonna select a few words today and change them, make it more real for the audience, make it more understandable, more knowledgeable. I want to teach my audience stronger words as well. So here, I'm doing Miss Drager's story on CPR. It was a typical day for Haley getting ready for work for the summer job. She was a full-time teacher, but during the summer months, waitressing was her call. This day was different though. As she was getting her apron and uniform shirt ready, she heard a scream that made the hair on her arms stand up. Haley went to her living room window, looked both ways, and saw nothing. Now, I do say this word nothing a lot in my essay. You'll see it. But when Haley looked out the window, it was something she saw. She saw her street. So I'm just going to add here, and saw nothing out of the ordinary. Ordinary. Come on, Drager, spell. And then I'm going to go back here. Haley went to her living room window, looked both ways. I can even change this looked and put in peered. She peered both ways. Looked is kind of like a glance, but if you peer at something, you kind of look at it a little bit longer. Here's my second page. Then it came again, louder, higher, more piercing to the ears. Haley rushed outside and approached a woman in panic. Her hand was clenched in a fist over her chest, and she was looking up at the sky. Her mouth was gaped open. The woman shouted, "My grandbaby." Haley looked in the back of the car. And here I can say, Haley looked in the back of the car and saw a tiny figure with its head down. I think I'm just going to change this, a tiny figure with its head slumped down, because I want the audience to understand that this wasn't a normal position for a child. I mean, he was slumped over, and often we relate slumping to either illness or sickness or something wrong. She unlocked the car, swung the door open, and lifted the child out. The child was not moving or crying. With the child was not moving or crying, that is a typical movement of a toddler. But I'm just, when a toddler sees a stranger, they normally shy away or they clench their mom or dad. So I'm just going to say the child was not responding to her touch. Normally kids shy away or they pull away when approached by a stranger. Haley thought to herself, no, oh no. An individual must check to see if a child is conscious or ask if the child is okay. Haley quickly laid the boy in the back of the car. She immediately checked to see if the child was breathing. To check for breathing, an individual must place her ear near the child's mouth and nose. Haley wished for a faint whisper of breath. She felt nothing. And there's that word nothing again. And I purposely used that throughout my piece to really dig in for the reader that, and you're going to see this word again. Could I change it? Yes. But I think I want to leave that for tension and emphasis. From her experience on being trained in CPR, Haley knew she must make the child breathe. She placed her finger on the boy's chest and pressed firmly 3 times. At first, Haley didn't want to press too hard in fear of hurting the boy. It felt like pressing on a tennis ball, firm, difficult to compress. Now here, I say a lot of press, and it's very repetitive, and I don't want that for my reader. So here, I'm going to try to change a few of these. Haley placed her finger on the boy's chest and pressed firmly 3 times. Because I do press. I don't want to say slammed or pushed or anything like that. At first, Haley didn't want to, I think I'm going to do this, push too hard in fear of hurting the baby. It felt like pressing on a tennis ball, and it did, but maybe it felt like squeezing or squishing, because it's really hard to squeeze a tennis ball. Firm, difficult to compress. So I just kind of took out that press a few times. And some of you might notice that in your essay that you repeat a word. If you're seeing a word repeated so many times, change 1 or 2 of them. After 3 quick compressions, Haley checked for breathing again. She did not see his chest rising. She placed she placed her ear over the boy's mouth and could not feel a breath, nothing. And there's my nothing again that I use. And as a writer, I think I just want to keep that for the audience. Again, she knew she needed to make this child breathe. A person must pinch the nose and give 2 breaths. Haley placed the boy's nose in her fingers, pinched her fingers to close his nose, and gave 2 quick breaths. Now, in my research notes, I did say pinched already, so I'm going to just change this. Haley placed the little boy's nose in her fingers. And I'm just going to say, Haley, gently. I can say gently placed, but Haley gently surrounded the little boy's nose. No, I'll just say Haley gently placed, because I wasn't sure. Haley gently placed the little boy's nose in her fingers, pinched her fingers to close his nose, and gave 2 quick breaths. Yeah, I like that. As she breathed air into the child, she noticed the chest did not rise, even with her own air going in his body. In CPR, the chest should rise and fall. Haley's gut was telling her it was something else. I could even change this. Haley's gut was telling her, Haley's gut was speaking to her, Haley's gut was shouting at her it was something else. Maybe I want to do shouting at her, just for more tension and more emphasis. She picked up the boy, who felt so heavy in her arms. Now, often when you pick something up, it's done with ease, but because he felt so heavy, good Lord, I can't talk today. She lifted the baby, she heaved up the boy, she lifted up the boy. When I type that up, I might even look for synonyms for that. She heaved up the boy, and I can say in her arms, who felt so heavy, and I can take that out. She heaved up the boy in her arms, who felt so heavy. There was no response from him. He just hung lifeless. The back of his head drooped against her shoulder. She faced him outward, holding him against her own body, placed her fist under his sternum, and pulled him into her with a tight squeeze. So today, just showing you that if you want to add a little bit more sensory imagery to your writing. So for example, she peered out of the ordinary, his head slumped down. If you want to add, change your words to allow the reader to understand. I put responding to her touch. I changed all of those press words differently. It's just great practice to add stronger words, to add sensory imagery. So today I want you to practice adding 3 to 5 words. Try to change them, strong word choice. And it doesn't have to be one word, like peered. It can be a whole phrase. So think about that. And maybe read over your essay one more time, because this is the last time. I'm going to have you revise it. You're more than welcome to revise it as many times as you want. Thanks for listening today.